Now you a veteran?
Yeah, I'm a veteran.
Yeah. What can you tell us about it?
What do you want to know about it? I was not in combat very long. Went on D-12, was picked up in November. Dead, or supposedly dead, which is okay. Maybe I was, and didn't have brains enough to realize it.
Somebody asked me when I decided I wanted to be a Marine. I said I knew I was going to be a Marine ever since I was 9 years old.
When I was a toddler, growing up in my grandmother's house, because my grandfather had all of his military awards and all of his old stuff in a chest, and I used to dig around in there and look at it.
Part of it was just that it looked so cool. I mean, I liked the way the uniforms, I liked the way they looked when they were muddy.
My children, the history has been every war the United States has fought in since the Revolutionary War has been they can lay claim to that.
My father was in World War II, and my brother was in the Air Force when I got drafted. My father was like an absentee father also.
Biological father, never knew him. He signed away his rights and went his own way, but you know what, that's fine with me. I'd rather have a no dad than a bad dad, you know what I'm saying?
Dad grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. He was a boxer. I didn't know him very well because he died when I was about 5 years old. A lot of friends sort of in the same situation in that area, and people who had lost their fathers, or fathers were drunks, or they weren't home, or whatever. So I started running with a fairly troublesome bunch.
Got to high school and you had to work. You're supposed to study, you're supposed to take books home and read them, and I had absolutely no study habits whatsoever. And so I plummeted academically.
I dropped out of high school, and then I went to night school and graduated at night.
My best friend dropped out when he was a junior, went in the Marines. My other best friend was going in the Marines, and then and I got in a lot of trouble my senior year. I ended up not graduating high school and going into the Marines.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. If I would have gone to school, I never thought about that. They flipped out when I joined the active duty Army. They're like, "Well, what happened?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what happened?" And I was like, "I got 1180 on my SATs. I can go to UMass. I can go to school if I want to, but I don't want to go to school."
I had no college plans, wasn't going to school, had no deferments. It was before the lottery system was in place. So I was, as soon as I was going to be 18, I was going to get drafted. It was pretty obvious.
Women would come over to my table and chastise me. "Why aren't you in uniform like my son?" Of course, being young, that preyed on me quite a bit, especially when it happened over and over again. So I quit, told the government I was quitting, and I was going to join my peers in the Army.
It was expected of me to be patriotic and, a person that would go in the Army, that kind of thing. I didn't feel like I wanted to go to war, that's for sure.
I was very idealistic and thought it was patriotic, and really felt that I'd won the Womb War and ended up in a great country, and I owed it back. At 17, you're a little bit green as to how everything works.
I wasn't a particularly religious or active Jew, but I identified as a Jew. And I wasn't going to sit idly by and let that happen.
If there was a war, I wanted to be in it. I wanted combat. I saw that way of defining myself.
Early on, I kind of got this air of sympathy. Like, "Oh, I'm so sorry you had to join the Army." I'm like, "Had? What are you talking about?" I went to them. The recruiters basically weren't even allowed to come into Amherst High School.
They invited me to leave the ROTC program. They throw me out. Father disappointed. What can I do to remedy this? I went and found the Marines and said, "Hey, here I am, take me." No, they didn't recruit me. I went looking for them.
Showed it to my dad, and he said, "Draft notice no good." He said, "Get on and enlist. Do your job." So that's what I did.
I told the draft board that I wasn't trying to get out of the Army, but I wanted to complete my high school education, and I was only a junior. And I said, what good's that going to do me when I get out of this crazy war? And they said, well, we can defer you until the end of your junior year. I said, you know, I think I'll go right now, if that's the best they can do. That bitterness remained with me for some time.
You had to go down to Whitehall Street for the induction center. So they gave you a one-way token trip, you know, on the subway. So you couldn't say I didn't have money to get there or something. When I received it, I was almost happy because I didn't want to move away from my house because I knew my paycheck meant so much in the household. But this, for me, it was a way of getting out of that situation. So I almost welcomed it.
And I thought about going to Canada, but didn't have the courage to leave everything and go do that. So I kind of just went with the flow.